Hey, just thought I'd do a little show and tell here. I've got 8 samples of one bean. It's the Costa Rica La Minita, the Tarrazu washed coffee. And I did a range of roasts starting at basically underdeveloped and going all the way through what I would consider fully developed, and even starting to just get a tiny bit of roast. And in the middle here, I actually have this is Dunkin' Donuts original blend, full on medium roast here, just as a comparison. So I started with the lightest roast I did was just 15 seconds of development, and it was only a 10.7% weight loss. And as you can see, it is pretty mottled, and the flat side is quite flat. It hasn't really expanded much. And jump to 25 seconds. Pretty much the same story. This was 11.2% weight loss. Then 30 seconds. And just to my eye, they still look, if I had just gotten this right out of the roaster, I'd say, they look a little light, too light. Then I jumped to 40 seconds, 12% weight loss. To me, this is the first roast where I feel like, okay, it's light, but it's not going to cause a problem in tasting. 50 seconds, 12.1% weight loss. Still looking good to me. A minute and 20, 12.8% weight loss. And as you can see, it's not perfectly even. There is a little bit of variation, but that is still a good light roast. And it's still within the parameters in terms of weight loss of a light roast. Then I threw in a roast trying to hit the same level with my fresh roast. So up until now, this has all been on my Ikawa. But I threw in my SR800 fresh roast, a minute and 15 seconds, also 12.8%. And to my eye, they do look very, very similar to the Ikawa. That was same roast level, same weight loss, same amount of development time. And then last I had a minute and 40-second and up to 13.7% weight loss. And it's still, they don't even look that much different when you just compare them like this. But flavor-wise, yeah, I am starting just to get a tiny bit of a roasty note on that one. And so what do they taste like overall? I would say these 15-second, 25-second, 30-second, it's really going to be kind of a weak cup, kind of dishwater. It's going to be malty and grainy, and your acidity is going to be a little bit low, or lower than you would have thought. So it's almost like a white coffee profile, where it's more tea-like, thin, watery. I do not, you'll hear people say grassy, but I've really never tasted grass in under-roasted coffee. It always tastes like malt or grain, or you steeped grain in hot water. It's thin, it's kind of boring and mellow, and the acidity seems low. So maybe wheatgrass, but not a chlorophyll like green grass, like if you put a blade of grass in your mouth, or had a really fresh green tea, or a hoppy beer that has a grassy notes. I don't ever get that in under roasted. It's really more of just thin, watery, boring, malty, grainy, and then maybe a little bit of like a soft white peach note, or maybe a tiny bit of apple coming in. So I will go ahead and taste this. I'll pause this, taste it, see if I have any other thoughts. I am kind of curious how the Ikawa and the fresh roast taste. Blind, I would expect they would be pretty much the same flavor. All right, see you in a bit. Hey, just another clue here on that really light roast to 10.7% weight loss. That was, I think it was 15 seconds or something development time. The grind, if you hand grind it, it's a really big clue if you probably underdeveloped the coffee. So you will find it is really hard and tough. It's not impossible, but if you were to grind that and then compare it to the last roast, you'd find it's a lot easier to hand grind, more developed coffee. So this, it's not horrible. I've had worse, but it also gives me a clue that it's probably a little bit under optimum development. By the way, I am going to cup these blind, and I've already mixed them up. I don't know which is which, but comparing ground coffee also can be helpful. The color of ground coffee. So, like maybe as an example, these two look lighter than these two, but they're not crazy different in color. So really just comparing side by side. Ideally doing a blind really is the way to go. So those are the samples, and I'll go ahead and make my notes. All right, so just a quick wrap up of the Costa Rica La Minita Tarrazu. First of all, what's it taste like? It tastes like coffee. It's a nice balanced cup, and by balanced, it means it has some acidity, some sweetness, some body. It's a clean cup. It's maybe not the best example of all those attributes, but it has a little bit of everything. It's a very forgiving bean, so really all the samples were actually at least drinkable. That lightest one, the 10.7% weight loss, 15-second development, yeah, it just seemed a little thin and watery and just not as interesting. My favorite cup was the one that was 50 seconds, 50 seconds, 12.1% weight loss. Just nice, a nice traditional flavor, but also had some brightness and juiciness and a little bit of an apple note. But also the 30-second, 11.4%, and the 40-second development time, 12.0% loss, were really nice too. I do kind of like the lighter roasted coffee anyways, but those were really nice. Didn't really get any of those underdeveloped notes. On the Fresh Roast versus Ikawa, both of them, I was just barely picking up a little bit of a roast note that was a little bit distracting, but it had a nice traditional flavor. I would say both of them, they both came out 12.8% weight loss. I just wasn't super big fan of either, but I had put a note up here about resting helps. So the Fresh Roast was a more recent roast, only about a week off roast. The other samples, all the Ikawa, were almost a month. And they all had, at about week, certainly in the first few days and maybe even at as much as 10 days off roast, a tiny bit of an earthy aroma in the dry grounds, but the cup was fine. But as all the Ikawa roast aged, they got that went away. So I did get that in the Fresh Roast a little bit, but resting would help that. And even that 1 minute 40-second, 13.7% weight loss, which to me is getting into medium light. It's no longer light. I did have a roasty note, but it was still good. So I think, again, it's nice forgiving bean. And it's kind of an interesting bean to kind of explore. You could do the same thing going through all the ranges of the middle of the roast, a medium roast. You can get into dark and kind of get those kind of comparisons. But there you go. Those are my thoughts on the Costa Rica La Minita Tarrazu.